explosives, enough, I presume, to destroy even you.
Hey there guys, this is Richard, your host, with another marvelous video. One of the most beloved superheroes within his own universe and outside of it, Superman is undoubtedly everyone's beacon of hope. Despite having powers that are incomprehensible, Superman makes it a point to always pull his punches, even against the strongest enemies. However, he's often found arch-enemies that stand head-to-head with him, with or without superpowers. Unable to be defeated, he's been used by many to do their terrible bidding. He's gotten involved in strange plots where people lusted for getting his power to themselves, and has occasionally been sent off the edge with traumatic experiences, provoking him to change his peaceful ways and switch to violence.
Imposter! Stay back, Lois.
In today's video, we'll go over 10 such episodes from the esteemed 90s cartoon Superman the Animated Series, where the Man of Steel has been involved in some of the show's darkest and the most emotional plots. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin!
You don't look so good.
Leave me alone!
Identity Crisis. To start off our list, we have the 6th episode from the show's 2nd season, which marks the cartoon debut of Bizarro, a Superman imposter struggling with his unoriginal identity. Superman spots the police chasing a car, but the police car is being chased by Lois Lane and Clark Kent, who are hungry for the story. He stops the first car, but the resulting backlash makes Lois' car go off course, throwing Clark off the edge of a cliff. Naturally, Superman saves Clark, but also asks Lois out on a date. Later, during his hero duties, Superman meets another Superman who's just like him. But as the two Supermen meet, the imposter's face distorts into something bizarre. He blames the original Superman for it and later seeks out Lex Luthor, proving that the man responsible for these events is none other than the Man of Steel's arch-enemy. In Luthor's lab, it's revealed that Superman's DNA had been cloned, and the imposter's disfigurement was a result of how alien the original DNA was, prompting the Superman present to question his identity. He's soon named Bizarro, which hurts him even more. To prove himself as the original, Bizarro heads out to carry on with his hero duties across Metropolis. Bizarro's plan fails when he does more harm than good to the city. The original Superman has to clean up after his mess, while Bizarro heads out for his date with Lois at the Daily Planet rooftop. The date is crashed by Superman, but the impact of their fight causes Lois to fall off. Bizarro saves her and flies away to a restaurant, where Lois secretly takes out a recorder and asks Bizarro about his origin. They soon reach Luthor's lab, where they find several Superman clones. Luthor arrives soon after, claiming that the blood of Superman was used to create Bizarro, whose identity crisis gets worse on learning that he's one of the many clones of an original superhero. But with the secret revealed, Luthor gets his scientists to set off a self-destruct sequence. With the main entrance blocked, everyone remains trapped inside when the original Superman comes to the rescue. However, he's attacked by Bizarro, who hates him now, while Luthor and the scientist escape. At the same time, Lois gets trapped under the cement. Fortunately, Bizarro realizes that Superman is not the enemy and stays back while Clark and Lois escape. He seemingly perishes in the resulting explosion as he sacrifices himself for a greater cause.
You've got a front row seat for the story of the century, my dear. The death of Superman.
World's Finest, Part 1, 2, and 3. These episodes are a 3-part arc in the show's 2nd season, and it brings together Superman, Batman, the Joker, and Lex Luthor. The Joker and Harley rob an antique shop in Gotham City. With the Joker being broke, he steals a jade statue, which irks suspicion since it shouldn't be valuable enough to bring the Joker out of his brokenness. Bruce Wayne later examines a fragment of the statue left behind, only to realize that the jade is actually kryptonite. He heads out to Metropolis while the Joker seeks out Luthor and tells him how he's broke. However, he offers to kill Superman for $1 billion. Seeing the statue, Luthor decides to give the clown Prince of Crime a chance. Bruce Wayne meets Clark and Lois Lane in Metropolis, where he strikes up a romance with Lois, much to Clark's displeasure. The superheroes soon learn of each other's identities while Batman fills Superman in on the Joker having kryptonite. Meanwhile, Bruce also strengthens his romance with Lois. One such romantic moment between the new pair gets disrupted by the Joker and his thugs. Lois gets kidnapped while Batman remains engaged in the fight. At the Joker's hideout, Harley gags Lois while the Joker flaunts his plan to her, only for Superman to crash the party. With intel from Batman, Superman shows up in an anti-kryptonite suit that protects him, but the Joker soon neutralizes it with acid flour and electrocutes him. Soon after, Batman enters the facility and dissolves the kryptonite, in this case half of the statue while the Joker had the other half. Superman gains his composure and saves everyone while the laboratory is destroyed by Joker's bombs, allowing the criminal duo to escape. Later, an enraged Luthor and Mercy fight Joker and Harley, only to learn of Batman's arrival in Metropolis. While Luthor gives the Joker another chance, Superman begins to suspect Luthor's involvement. A distress signal from a cruise brings Superman forward, but the signal turns out to be fake and a bomb detonates. Meanwhile, Batman realizes that Lois is in danger. He snatches her away and they run together, only for his cape and cowl to come off, revealing his identity to Lois. At LexCorp, Luthor worries about getting caught under the crossfire for providing the necessary equipment for Superman's assassination. He soon fights the Joker while Mercy engages Harley. The Joker changes his plan and swaps his requirement for money with wanting to ruin Luthor's empire. As Superman and Batman arrive, they are engaged by giant versions of robots, but the heroes emerge victorious. At the same time, Joker goes on a destructive spree around the city while Batman heads out to pursue him in the Batwing. Superman destroys the remaining kryptonite and leaves to help Batman. However, the Joker drops his grenades that begin to explode, and he gets caught up in the explosions himself, while the heroes manage to save Luthor and Harley.
I calculated we would meet again, Kal-El. So I designed some improvements.
Ghost in the Machine. Season 2, Episode 14 comes up with a very disturbing situation for Lex Luthor to fall into when he becomes Brainiac's victim. LexCorp unveils its new weapon, the Sky Sentry, to the press. The cannon supposedly stops incoming missiles, and for the demonstration, 2 missiles are fired toward Luthor, the press, and the public. However, a glitch causes the weapon to fail, and Superman has to stop the missiles. A furious Luthor heads back to the research lab for the massive failure, while Superman realizes that something bigger must be involved here for Luthor's large-scale demo to go awry. He tells Lois that Lex apparently had been sabotaged. Meanwhile, Luthor gets called into Sector 6 of the building, where a large robotic claw captures and traps him. The computer screen reveals it to be Brainiac, who had downloaded himself into the LexCorp computers after his ship and body were destroyed. To complete the build of his new body, he needs human hands and Luthor's brain. As such, Luthor is trapped and forced to build Brainiac a body with no rest or food for days. Meanwhile, Brainiac releases a hologram of Luthor to keep up appearances. Clark and Mercy get involved in the situation as they try to find Luthor when Mercy pinpoints his location using the security footage. She enters the building and gets attacked by robots, but Superman shows up. The robots are destroyed, and together they head to save Luthor, who learns that Brainiac intends to kill him off soon. Luthor refuses to finish the robot body, but Brainiac himself inhabits it and finishes it himself. Luthor is then attacked and found by Mercy and Superman. The two of them fight back, and Superman learns that Brainiac is strong enough to keep up with, if not defeat him. Just then, Mercy spots the Sky Sentry and gets Superman to make Brainiac fire a magnetic blast. The Sentry does the rest by overcoming the beam and magnetizing Brainiac's body. It pulls every metal object toward the robot, bringing it to its end. Later, Luthor disagrees with allowing the military to analyze the technology and leaves for a charity benefit. Father's Day. The 15th episode of the show's second season proves how horrible it truly is to have Darkseid as a father. Kalibak becomes the poster child for daddy issues when he decides to defeat Superman on Earth to gain his father's approval. Desaad, Darkseid's assistant, sends a destructive machine to Earth to defeat Superman, only for him to fail. Soon after, Darkseid's son Kalibak asks his father for a chance to go to Earth and defeat Superman, but of course, Darkseid dismisses him and he's put into a slave pit. Later, Desaad provokes Kalibak to secretly head to Earth, defeat Superman, and come back to Apokolips to be accepted as Darkseid's son. Being stupid, Kalibak follows Desaad's advice. Kalibak crashes Clark's parents and Lois's lunch and wreaks havoc in the restaurant to get Superman's attention. While everyone escapes, Pa Kent gets trapped inside. Superman soon rushes in to save Pa Kent, but is attacked by Kalibak. They fight, and Kalibak is hell-bent on not letting Superman get away. In fact, he almost does the job in an attempt to prove his worth to his father. However, Superman stops holding his punches and hurls Kalibak away to save Pa Kent. He saves his adoptive father in the nick of time while Kalibak lands far, far away. Superman heads towards the enemy to settle the score, but suddenly, Darkseid appears in front of his son. Seeing his failure, he blasts Kalibak with his Omega beams, disintegrating him. Superman catches sight of the event and comes face to face with Darkseid. As such, he receives a jolt of the beams as well, but remains alive despite being hurt. When Darkseid returns after killing his son for not being able to defeat the strongest superhero, he only comments on how Superman cannot be destroyed with a single stroke.
They'll never accept you.
Oh no. I'll tell them how you forced me to enslave them.
Brave New Metropolis. In Brave New Metropolis, Lois finds herself in an alternate dimension where her death has resulted in Superman joining hands with Lex Luthor and turning Metropolis into a police state. Jimmy and Lois stay present at Star Labs for a demonstration of the Phantom Zone projector, which is supposed to allow interdimensional travel. However, Lois gets too close to the machine and gets sucked into an alternate dimension. She arrives at a dystopian metropolis with deserted streets and a statue of Luthor with Superman. Soon, Turpin asks for her curfew card, but he's soon attacked by Jimmy and his men. Superman arrives and violently stops Jimmy's gang, but Jimmy escapes and drags Lois away. She learns that she's supposed to be dead due to Intergang's car bomb explosion. In fact, her death resulted in Superman turning brutal. Later, the duo head to a building but get taken into custody by Mercy. Lois is taken to Luthor, who's surprised to see her alive. However, he's happy to have Superman on his side and doesn't want him to learn of her existence. As such, he orders Mercy to kill her. Fortunately for Lois, Angela Chen runs into Mercy and distracts her, allowing Lois to escape with a gun. Lois climbs up a monument and fights police helicopters when she's saved by Superman and taken somewhere safe. Mercy sends news of this to Luthor while Lois tells of her origin to Superman. She also reveals the truth about Luthor wanting her dead to Superman, which enrages him, and he confronts his partner. Luthor tries to save himself while Mercy and Lois fight. The rebels crash the scene and go after Luthor, who escapes in his jet only for Superman to tail him. The vehicle is damaged and Luthor crashes into his own statue, dying in the process. Lois and Superman soon go to Star Labs and discuss the process of rebuilding Metropolis. Soon after, a portal opens and Superman arrives to bring Lois back home. In the end, Lois gives the alternate dimension Superman a kiss before heading home with the Superman from her world.
You know stop missile. Krypton need missile.
Bizarro's world. Remember the explosion Bizarro had fallen victim to? Well, he survived, and that became evident in the episode known as Bizarro's World, where Bizarro found himself in the Fortress of Solitude, where he met the Brainiac Orb. In the fortress, he finds a pet in a lizard-like creature. On activating Brainiac's Orb, he asks to learn about his origin in an attempt to find his roots. However, the orb mistakes Bizarro for Superman and basically gives him Superman's backstory. Thinking that this applies to him, Bizarro is overjoyed. He soon goes to the Metropolis Cultural Center and begins to distort the city to mirror Krypton's topography. He even kidnaps a man, believing that this is his father, Jor-El, and the incident falls under Lois's radar. As Bizarro spots Lois, his interest towards her is revived and she's made to go to his house. However, she gets attacked by his new pet, Krypto. Soon, Superman arrives in an anti-kryptonite suit holding the rock and throws it at Bizarro, who is surprisingly immune to it. Superman himself gets attacked by Krypto, who tears his suit apart, weakening the Man of Steel to the exposed kryptonite. At the same time, Bizarro heads out to blow up Metropolis to mimic Krypton's destruction, bringing the story of his home to its rightful end. He exits the building to get to the missile base, and Superman follows him in pursuit after getting rid of the kryptonite. Bizarro shoots a missile from the missile base while Superman tries to stop him. As Superman brings up Lois Lane, who is likely to die from the missile's impact, Bizarro gets flustered and rushes to save her, while Superman goes after the missile. Ultimately, Superman saves the day, but realizes Bizarro is too dangerous for his own good and takes him to an uninhabited planet. He tasks Bizarro with protecting that planet, and he brings Krypto along to leave his clone with some happy company. Little Girl Lost, Parts 1 and 2. The second season of Superman the Animated Series ends with a bang with these two-part episodes that debut Kara Inze's Supergirl in the cartoon. Superman finds her on a freezing planet near a destroyed Krypton and brings her to Earth, where she attains ridiculous powers similar to Superman's. Superman flies by Krypton, which seems to have no sign of life. His spaceship soon picks up a distress signal from a nearby planet called Argo, which seems to be freezing. There, he finds a buried lab and learns that Krypton's destruction moved Argo far away from the sun, making the people die because they froze to death. Superman soon finds Kara Inze in her stasis chamber, still alive, and takes her back to Earth, where she finds her powers and gets asked to maintain a low profile. However, Kara is very interested in fighting crime and lights up at the mention of the Intergang. Meanwhile, Metropolis gets attacked by teenagers on flying discs with weapons that are strong enough to engage Superman. When they return to their hideout, it's revealed that they're affiliated with Granny Goodness. Later, the teenagers crash into a video arcade, and Jimmy heads out to tell the story. However, Kara overhears Jimmy's conversation with Lois and decides to secretly join Jimmy. The duo fight the teenagers when Kara tells them that they're being used by Granny Goodness. Enraged, Granny Goodness opens a boom tube after a fight and summons her female Furies. Kara, who's now revealed to be Supergirl, fights the Furies and defeats two of them, but Stomper throws her out of the building. At the same time, Clark learns of a comet coming close to Earth when he senses Kara's situation and heads out to save her. However, he gets captured by the female Furies and is taken to Apokolips, where he's tortured. Supergirl later finds a boom tube in the technology stolen by the Intergang and goes to Apokolips to save Superman. She loses the boom tube generator and is stuck there, but soon finds Superman, who's being dragged to Darkseid's palace. It's revealed that Darkseid plans to destroy Earth with the comet, and Granny Goodness was sent there to draw the comet in closer with the Doomsday Magnet. Hearing this, Supergirl leaps into the scene to fight Darkseid, but unfortunately, she's quickly defeated. Superman, Granny Goodness, and the Furies soon step up. Superman disables the female Furies and frees Supergirl as they use one of the Furies' boom tube generators to escape. On Earth, they find the magnet used by Granny to draw in the comet, and Supergirl neglects Superman's orders as she destroys it. As Superman mentions how the magnet could have been used to make the comet alter its course, he realizes he's left with no other option but to physically destroy the comet. Superman pushes the comet away from the atmosphere, but a chunk of it breaks apart and heads toward Metropolis. Supergirl realizes that it can devastate the city and flies upward, ultimately destroying the comet and helping Superman save the day. Meanwhile, Darkseid orders the female Furies to torture Granny Goodness for her failure. Obsession. Season 3, Episode 4 brings forward an episode where several toy-based robots strong enough to challenge Superman target a beautiful model named Darcy, who Toyman seems to be obsessed with. Designer Lana Lang hosts a fashion show with Clark and Jimmy covering the event. She reveals her star model, Darcy Mason, but the event is soon crashed by life-size toys who attack the guards and go after Darcy. Superman destroys two of them and prevents the last toy from kidnapping Darcy. The scene shifts to Toyman's hideout, where he plays with a doll called Darcy and vows to bring her back to him. Meanwhile, one of the toys from the event arrives and hands Darcy's house keys to Toyman. At the same time, Clark investigates Darcy's house, where he's unable to find any signs of a person's existence, such as food. Darcy arrives and talks to Clark when a toy kangaroo hurls him off the balcony to take Darcy away. Once again, Superman prevents a toy from kidnapping Darcy. Soon, Darcy leaves while Toyman oversees the events, realizing that he needs to get rid of Superman. Darcy heads to the office and fixes a tear in her skin. Designer Lana walks in on her and witnesses Darcy tear off a piece of her skin, only to reveal circuits underneath, proving that she is a robot. Lana confronts her, and Darcy claims that she was based on the popular Darcy line of dolls, which even Lana used to have at one point. In fact, that was the exact reason why Lana subconsciously believed Darcy Mason to be the perfect model. Darcy also reveals that Toyman had built her as he wanted a companion, but she ended up with too much free will and, as such, wanted to kill Toyman. However, Lana decides to turn her over to the police, making Darcy attack her. The fight results in Lana getting trapped inside while a fire breaks out in the building. Superman arrives to save her and learns of Darcy's origin, but she's already reached Toyman's hideout. Darcy tries to kill him with a gun, but a failsafe device stops her from attacking him. Before she can run away, Toyman captures her and decides to make some adjustments. Superman arrives at the party and Toyman accuses him of wanting Darcy all to himself. As such, Superman is trapped in an energy cage and attacked by an energy being. However, Superman overloads the cage's circuits while Toyman runs away with Darcy. Darcy then destroys Toyman's helicopter and both of them plummet into the ocean. Neither of them can be found, but in the end, it alluded that Darcy is still alive, while Toyman is more than likely to have died.
I believe this is your stop.
The Demon Reborn. Season 4 of Superman, the animated series, begins with Ra's al Ghul returning to Metropolis and Superman teaming up with Batman for the last time in the series. However, Ra's is sick and requires Superman's strength to continue living. Ninja hijackers crash a tribal arts exhibit in Metropolis and Talia al Ghul finds a staff that piques her interest. Meanwhile, she makes a train go off track, leaving Superman with no choice but to stop it. Batman joins in to help Superman, but Talia disappears with the stick. Later, the two of them reach Ra's hideout, where Batman notices wheelchair tracks while Superman tells him about the stolen staff having healing powers. Soon after, Lois gets kidnapped and is almost thrown off a tower. Superman heads there to save her, only to learn that it is once again Talia al Ghul disguised as Lois. She knocks Superman out with the shaman's staff, and he is subsequently taken to a sickly Ra's who can barely manage to speak. However, he conveys that the Lazarus Pit and its waning powers cannot keep him alive anymore, and as such, he needs Superman's strength. Lois finds Batman in her apartment and realizes that Bruce has a history with Talia. Soon, Batman discovers evidence against Talia, who was in Lois's apartment for her clothes to perfect her disguise, and heads out with Talia's clothing. Alfred analyzes it in the Batcave and finds traces of jet fuel, which tells Batman where he can find Raz's men. Batman interrogates the men to learn of Raz's whereabouts, while Superman is taken to a lost city Raz had previously made a fortune from. He's then dragged to a machine that can drain his powers with the shaman's staff. However, it's too late and Raz is already dead. Talia doesn't give up and continues with the procedure, transferring Superman's powers to Raz, whose body begins to heal. Talia revives Raz, but Batman arrives to fight him. With his newfound superhuman strength, Raz proves to be way too strong for the Bat, but the shaman's staff is thrown towards Superman. Meanwhile, the cave begins to collapse, and Talia nearly falls off a steep cliff. Superman gains his powers back as Raz leaves the staff to save Talia, but they fall into the river below. At the same time, Superman destroys the staff and gets out of the cave with Batman. In the end, they're unable to find traces of the father-daughter duo, and Superman tries to get Batman to speak of his situation with Talia. Of course, Batman reveals nothing, and the two heroes part to return to Metropolis and Gotham. Legacy, Parts 1 and 2. This two-parter series closes Superman the Animated Series and revolves around a brainwashed Superman who believes that he was brought up on Apokolips. As such, Darkseid uses him as a tool for his universal conquest. Superman engages the soldiers on an unnamed planet while fighting alongside an Apocalyptian army. He decimates the opposition and returns to Darkseid, who refers to him not as Superman, but as his son, Kal-El. Impressed with Kal-El, as usual, Darkseid offers him Earth as a gift to rule over. Meanwhile, Metropolis seems to have both Superman and Clark Kent coexist, only because Supergirl controls them as robots, considering the original is missing. However, Kal-El soon arrives on Earth to attack the planet, only for him to regain some memories of his parents, Lois and Jimmy Olsen, back. He's sent back to Granny Goodness for his so-called therapy, where he's put into a chair and memories are placed into his mind. He's brainwashed into believing that he landed on Apokolips instead of Earth, and was raised by Darkseid, a benevolent ruler who wants to bring order to the universe. However, it's soon revealed that Kal-El was asked to rule over Earth because Darkseid wanted the military forces to destroy him, which will allow the Apocalyptian ruler to take over the dystopian planet under the guise of restoring it. That night, the Superman robot flies into the LexCorp tower after picking up a strange signal. Luthor is aware that the original Superman is missing and meets with General Hardcastle, with whom he's planning to kill Superman, lest the Man of Steel goes out of hand. At the same time, Kal-El is sent to Earth with the symbol of hope as his banner. He soon attacks a NATO base with the Parademons, giving Luthor the perfect opportunity to legally kill Superman. Soon, Supergirl engages Superman in a fight, but enraged at seeing her bear the same symbol as him, Superman almost sends Supergirl to her death. However, Lois arrives to stop him, which brings back his original memories.
Superman, stop! You'll kill her!
You?
But she's late since a kryptonite missile is soon fired to kill him. Superman and Supergirl survive, but Superman soon reveals that after intercepting a distress signal, he was incapacitated and brainwashed by Granny Goodness to side with Darkseid. However, Superman is not let off the hook and is imprisoned in a military prison cell with red light. Superman explains the situation with Darkseid to General Hardcastle, who chooses not to believe him. Superman then tries to find Supergirl to save her, and Luthor and Hardcastle decide to kill Superman with liquid kryptonite. However, Lois stops Luthor and helps Superman escape with Supergirl, who's almost killed. Later, Superman steals a boom tube generator and goes to Apokolips to confront Darkseid. He fights through the Parademons and Granny Goodness, whose mind gets wiped out by the brainwashing machine. Superman fights off the female Furies and Calibac as well, but ultimately struggles against Darkseid due to his exhaustion and a lack of sunlight. But as Darkseid tries to use his Omega beams, Superman outsmarts him and covers his eyes, causing the beams to explode into Darkseid's head. Even though he doesn't die, Darkseid is rendered severely injured, and Superman gets away after throwing him to the ground. Superman returns to Earth where no one wants to trust him again, thanks to Luthor and Hardcastle's negative PR policies when it comes to Superman. But Lois sides with him and kisses him gently, asking him to take it one person at a time. In a way, Superman is the mirror image of Batman. Batman fears the violence in his heart and incapacitates himself by sticking to his human fists, avoiding guns and making it a point to never kill, no matter how much his heart calls for it. On the the opposite end, Superman fears the violence he can inflict, which cannot be changed by how much peace and love he harbors in his heart. And yet, as a man who can rival God, Superman gets entangled in threats bigger than that of most of the other heroes, as the fate of the whole world rests on his shoulders. With that, today's video comes to an end. What did you think of these 10 episodes from Superman the Animated Series? Did you enjoy this video? And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.